Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, is Mo moving on ALGOP? Also, Jese Skaggs is appointed Chief of Staff to the Lieutenant Governor. And your friends in government are spending a lot of your money.
Friends don't steal from friends.
Be my friend?
If you want a friend in government, get a dog. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and today I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, Angie Horn, GOP consultant, and Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome all.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
I'm going to jump right into this. Last week, we reported on that Mo Brooks is looking to take over the top spot at the Alabama Republican Party. We've heard this from fairly reliable sources. But one thing that we didn't anticipate was how much this story would catch fire among GOP faithful. So, Angie, I wanted to bring it back up this week to get your take on the fact that Mo Brooks might become the chair of the party. Now, first off, he called the Alabama legislature not conservative, the Republicans. And he said after Katie Britt won the Senate against him that he said the bad men won. I don't know if what do you say to that, Angie?
He's also had bad things to say about Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions and a variety of other Republicans. So this rumor started catching fire right around the time of the Alabama Republican Party state dinner a couple of weeks ago, and it has been catching steam. And people have very strong opinions about this within the Republican Party. Most people are saying, listen, Mo Brooks has run time and time again statewide. He has not been able to win. He's not the choice of Alabama Republicans. So should he be the choice of the Alabama Republican Committee? He does have a small group of faithful that I think would elect him to anything. But most Republicans want to see the Republican Party reflect Republican voters, reflect the people who are choosing who represents them at the ballot box. And Mo Brooks is not that guy, and he shouldn't be that guy to head up the Republican Party on the committee level either.
I mean, Susan, he lost 66 of the 67 counties. Mm-hmm. That should tell you that voters are not all that keen on Mo Brooks.
They're just not keen on him at all, and he will not represent the state as far as the Republican Party goes. If the people don't like him statewide, he shouldn't be in a statewide position like the chairman.
I'm going to refer to what Groucho Marx said in Duck Soup. If you think this country's in bad shape now, just wait till I get through with it. I mean, if Mo Brooks takes over the party, the crazies will have won. Josh, probably be good for Democrats, though, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Listen, I hope he takes over. I hope he's every bit as successful as he has been in Congress. But listen, I disagree on the fact that whether or not he reflects what the Republican Party is right now. As we have seen, we've sat here on this show week after week after week, including when Angie's here, and we have complained about how the party has drifted over towards the extreme. Every single week we do this, and you can't just keep drifting. And at some point, you become extreme, okay? You are the extreme party, and that's what they have. That's the reason why we have an abortion law right now that will force children to have children. So this is what we have here is an extreme Republican Party, and it would be fitting to have an extremist at the top of it.
On June 21st, we literally took a vote in this state on what Republicans think about Mo Brooks, and they said no, thank you in 66 of 67
to the
counties.
U.S. Senate.
We literally
He's been
had
in
a
Congress
vote, so
for a decade and a half.
It's bottomless.
He's been in Congress for a decade and a half, and the people that are currently running the Republican Party in this state, the people at the head of it right now, are no less extreme than Mo Brooks is. John Wall and that group, they're no less extreme.
This party belongs to the Republicans of Alabama, and they said no to Mo Brooks.
Those are the
And
people
we
that you
should stand
elected.
by
The
that.
Republicans of Alabama elected to lead their party.
Anyway, I do think that, and I'm loath to say this, but when Bob Riley was governor, he and Mike Hubbard took over the Republican Party. And they instituted a business-friendly Republican Party. And they elected business-friendly Republican parties. It wasn't based on extremism. It was based on that. Now, Bentley, when he won, he tried to take over the Republican Party and did to a degree, but then he lost control of it as he did everything else. And so then you had a party that had no upper leadership. And because Governor Ivey has never had an interest in the politics of that, Susan. So right now we do have a party that's, I think, more extreme. On the committees, the executive committee, the steering committee, are more extreme.
Yeah, and like you said, I love to say this, but when Riley and Hubbard were in control of it, they tamped down a lot of this craziness. They didn't let these crazy bills go through. They, got people in there that weren't necessarily spewing the crazy stuff. But then after Bentley, it just went spiraling out of control.
Well, it did.
And I'll say this. Mike Hubbard, I don't condone anything that he did that was illegal or anything like that. But he built a political machine with a Republican Party that was staffed by experienced political team, and they took over the legislature for the first time in 136 years. Since then, the Republican Party has not been run as a political machine. We have these weird dinners and these bizarre kind of hold you hostage for 5 hours on a Friday night, but it doesn't do anything to advance the Republican candidates on the ballot. And I think a return, not to the Mike Hubbard days, but a return to the strategy of having the Republican Party run as an actual political operation rather than a weird social club, I think would go a long way in actually helping candidates and connecting with actual Republican voters. Because right now there's not a strong connection between what's happening at Republican Party headquarters and what's happening with Republican voters in the field. And that's the disconnect.
And I think there's a disconnect even within the legislature, too, because for Mo Brooks to call them not conservative. And I do think. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, listen, I just think that also what Mike Hubbard did was he put a lot of people who weren't very qualified to be in the legislature. He helped to get them elected because they would follow along with his agenda. And I think you kind of see the results of that today is you don't have a lot of leadership among that group of people. There.
We had the best budget we've ever
led.
had. Democrats had us in proration year after year. We haven't been in proration in almost a decade. We have the healthiest budgets we've already had.
That's a lot of rambling for no reason.
136 years of Democrat rule is hard to get over, Josh.
Ask any of the consultants that deal with and lobbyists who deal with the legislature on a daily basis.
I'm one of them.
If this is a very smart legislature that's up there, and they'll tell you they're not. The lobbyists do most of the work because these people can't figure it out, and that's just a fact.
No, 136 years of Democrat control drove the state into the ground. We now have the healthiest budget we've ever had.
Now. We're top of the.
Well,
a lot
I'm
better
gonna
than we were when we were in proration every year.
I'm going to have to interrupt the love fest and just say, I don't think a lot of them are Mensa candidates.
No, they're not.
But anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag. Something has to stop it, and unfortunately, it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous, and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it.
This kind of stuff has got to stop.
My dog Jupiter is frightened when I climb too high, the owl said.
Check for monsters, Daddy.
I did, honey. There are no monsters. You're perfectly safe.
Protect yourself and those you love. Vaccinate now.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. I think Susan will probably take a bigger victory lap than me, but Jese Skaggs it was announced that he will become the chief of staff to Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth on October 1. And we've known Jess for a long, long time. He's just very dear to us, and we're very proud of the job he's done there. And Will Ainsworth could not have been more gracious in the announcement and how it went about.
In fact, he and his wife met on this set. Even though we were at the RSA at the time, they met on this set, and we're so proud of Jess.
Who is this you're talking about?
Let me tell you something, Josh. If you don't like Jese Skaggs,
you talking about Charlona's husband? Charlona's husband, Mrs.
He
Mr. Charlona,
and he knows it.
Yeah, but he's got one of the most brilliant political minds for his age of anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, Jess is a good dude. I like Jess a lot.
Jess is a quality guy. He has worked hard. He has paid his dues. And like I said, if you don't like Jese Skaggs, something's wrong with you. You need to go check yourself, because everybody I know loves Jese Skaggs.
I don't know about the working hard part, but all the rest of it's true.
I can tell you this. If you look up loyalty in the dictionary, his picture is right there.
Wow, he's a really good guy.
He is.
I'm
so proud of him. I call him my firstborn.
He's got one of the most formidable wives in the world.
Don't cross your line.
Well, let's move on to, listen, congratulations, Jeff. We love you.
And congratulations, Will. You've got a great guy.
Yeah. All right, so, we were looking through contract review the other day, and if you really want to see how poorly government works, just go pull up contract review. It's on the Allison website, and just read through some of the brilliant things that are in there. Susan, how about that company that's going to provide a website and manuals for convenience stores and stuff?
Oh, yeah. They don't even have their own website. When you go to their website, it just pulls up their SOS filing in a prettier format.
Yeah.
They're basically a ghost company. I think their purpose of business is any legal business.
Right.
That's their purpose.
And the state of Alabama taxpayers are going to pay them $100,000 and something to build a website and some manuals, even though they don't have a website. Maybe they've got some manuals. But Angie, look, the pharmacy board is going to. They need $1.2 million to hire a law firm to advise them. Do we not have lawyers that work in state government? Is this something that's, you got to spend over $1 million on lawyers to advise the pharmacy board? I'm
still stuck on the $100,000 website. I charge $2,500 to my candidates for websites, so I'm thinking maybe I am way underpriced in the market. I don't know if this thing's going to launch space shuttles or exactly what's going to happen.
Well, your problem is you have a website. That's the problem. They pay you more if you didn't have one. So
maybe I should take one down.
Website.
But we have lawyers. We absolutely have lawyers. But let me say this: we don't have lawyers that specialize in a lot of the individual things that come up in front of the legislature. So there are times when you need to go out and hire outside law firms to represent the state of Alabama in the way that the people of Alabama deserve to be represented. But I do think it goes a little far. Sitting through contract review is torture. It's long and it's tedious. But those meetings are necessary. And I think we do find that there are times that we hire lawyers or website designers or whatever that we don't need to hire. But I do think we do need to accept the fact that there are times when we do need to go outside the government pod to find expertise. I'm just not sure this is it.
But keep in mind here, guys, contract review, they have no teeth at all. The only thing they can really do, they cannot cancel a contract. All they can do is delay, call it into question and delay it for 90 days. It doesn't stop anything.
Well, I remember writing on a lobbyist who got a $300,000 government contract once, and I wrote about it. And they were like, "What?" And this was like 2011, right? So they were all new. They were like, "What do we do about that?" And the guy that was advising with nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the one thing about contract review when you were talking about how poorly, the government runs sometimes is the contract review process. Because while, yes, it does shine some light on these contracts and you can go in and see what people are doing and there's some explanation given for these, 7-figure and 8-figure contracts. they can't stop it. If it's a bad contract and everybody's outraged by it, everybody just gets outraged about it and then goes home. I mean, and they all start working. And really, realistically, they don't even delay the contract because the people just start working and they delay the payment for a couple of months. That's all they do.
I mean, there really should be a way to review these, and they do ask questions, but there should be a mechanism, Susan, whereby you don't have corporations that, you just have a...
No, I mean, there's got to be somewhere in that process that says, this is ridiculous, stop, let us review it and see if we really want to move forward with this. But there's not. But there needs to be.
It's sort of like every year the Department of Revenue brings over a stack of fees they want to raise. And they bring them to the legislature, and if the legislature doesn't do anything about them, they go into effect within 30 days.
They do.
Which is effectively raising your taxes.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the legislature raising your taxes. It has the stamp on it because they didn't vote on it.
Yeah. I mean, this is like contract review, but even worse. I mean, this is like, how do we claim to have fiscal responsibility when we can't even stop a contract? I mean, I don't know.
Well, listen, it's beyond that, and people don't realize this. Those fees and things impact you on a daily basis. And while they're out of sight for a little bit, they come to you. These are the things that you pay for, and most of them are borne by the working class folks out there. It's just like your court fees whenever you go to court. I guarantee you right now that there's probably not a judge on the bench that can tell you where all the fees go for court fees. But we pay them, and they're basically a tax on the citizens of the state.
Well, and I think it's even more than that. If you've ever seen the movie Office Space from, the late 90s, they have this scam where they steal a fraction of a penny from every transaction, and they wake up the next morning and there's millions that they've stolen from this computer program. I mean, a lot of these fees from revenue aren't $20, $30 fees. These are tiny little fees that go on your on bills that you pay every day. And, it's 40, 50 cents, $1.50. You don't notice, but you're getting that from everybody in the state of Alabama that has a cell phone, or everybody that has a cable account, or whatever fee they raised. And it adds up fast.
It does, but we're going to have to leave it right there. The legislature could fix this. They choose not to.
They have a red tape bill that West Allen's brought 3 years in a row. It just hasn't gone anywhere yet.
All right, well, maybe it'll go somewhere. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Throughout my career, I've seen many crashes, and a lot of the fatalities are from people who haven't worn their seatbelt.
Cars have rolled over multiple times.
I've had people end up in lakes, ravines. I've been looking for people in the woods for a couple hours before.
Usually just about every bone in their body is broken, their organs have ruptured, and typically they die.
You want to save a life, just simply click a button and put that seatbelt on.
Seatbelts really do save lives.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics.
You're about to open a can of worms.
Yeah, or a can of whoop, whoop, whoop. And I read Wall Street Journal, I read New York Times, I read Washington Post, I read New York Post, I read LA Times, I read all kinds of websites every day, Politico, blah, blah, blah. But one thing caught my attention, I thought it'd be fun for the show, is Wall Street Journal had an opinion piece this week that said Republicans should stand for more than opposing Democrats. Now, before I turn y'all loose to the cage, I want to say I get press releases all the time from lawmakers. And so much of the time, they are just attacking Joe Biden. Now, I'm sure if I lived in a Democratic state, all the ones I would have gotten were attacking Donald Trump. But I thought this was a good question. And
God forbid we talk about policy.
Republicans should stand for more than opposing Democrats. Go.
I absolutely agree with that statement. Republicans should do more than opposing
I agree with
Democrats.
that as well.
The problem is that Democrats spend so much time putting outrageous policies forth to hurt this country, that will result in hurting this country, that Republicans have to spend all of their time defending America from outlandish Democratic policies like the Green New Deal. So perhaps if Democrats should stop being so outrageous, it would give Republicans more time in the day to put forth more policy rather than just trying to stop the idiocy coming out of the Democratic leadership.
So your argument here is that Republicans just haven't had enough time to come up with a policy for anything.
We don't have time to put anything forward.
Inflation, not the economy, not anything.
Republicans are spending all of their time trying to fight AOC and Joe Biden and all of the others. They're putting forth these insane ideas. I mean,
you mean the guys that keep saving the economy after Republicans wreck it? You mean those people? Those are the ones that you're having to stop?
Now.
That's what
California has passed legislation that says that
we do need to have another $2 trillion tax cut for the wealthy. I think that's what we need.
Not to charge their electric cars. Democrats don't have any consistency. Gavin
There's a lot of yelling for nothing.
Don't buy any gas cars. We're going to make it illegal. While at the same time saying, oops, don't plug in your electric vehicles right now. We're having power outages.
That's a lot of yelling for nothing. You got no policy.
Republicans have to stand up against to save this country.
What is the policy that the Republicans have that's better than this policy? Just give me something. What healthcare policy? What's the Republican healthcare policy?
Leave it like it is. It's not broken.
You voted to repeal Obamacare 7,000 times. What's the policy? What's the policy that's going to replace Obamacare?
Do not ban gas cars. There's a policy, Josh. Do not ban gas cars.
I really don't want to ban gas cars either because I like my gas car. But, you know.
California has
don't ban
gas
that's
cars
a policy is don't ban gas cars. For God's sake.
Down the 405.
So ban gas cars.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, some guy wrote the other day that they were waiting to make an electric vehicle that would go 300 miles, and the guy said, well, who drives 300 miles? I'm like, where do you live?
Yeah, a lot of people all the time. Yeah. No, listen, I agree that we don't need to necessarily ban gas cars, but you know, electric cars are the future of traveling in the entire world. Okay, that's what's coming, and we all know that that's what's coming. So I'm not saying
that
just
told
gas
the
cars.
People who own electric cars that they can't charge their electric cars. Well,
they're not telling them that you can't charge your electric cars. They're setting up times in which it will not be such a drain on the power grid in California, where there are a number of electric cars out there because people are very environmentally conscious in that particular state. And so what they're trying to do is set up a system where the grid is not overburdened, like say in red state Texas, where it is overburdened whenever it gets really cold or really hot. Either way,
Democratic policy.
My God, imagine that.
We had a very similar Democratic policy in the 70s under Jimmy Carter when they told us when we could fill up our gas pumps.
So here we are again in let's say Texas, where you have no policy, no energy policy at all, and we see the problems every single day there. Where in California, this is a policy that they're trying to put in place to prevent the grid from being overburdened. So, I mean, that's how government works, is you have a problem, and then responsible people come together with a solution on it. Now, I know this is foreign for Republicans because you've never come up with an actual policy that works for anything, healthcare, economy, any of this stuff, education, no policy at all. And so here we are with nothing.
Josh,
and the Wall Street Journal is exactly right.
I will give you that Democrats are consistent in energy policy. They told us when we could fill up our cars in the 70s, and they're telling us when we can charge them in 2022. Democrats want to keep you sidelined and a slave to the government. And that's exactly what this energy policy is about.
It doesn't help anybody, but it'd be a
the
good
government
slogan
tells
for somebody.
me where I can go and when I can go there. No, thank you. That is not what America is about. And that's why Republicans have to stand up
That's really good
against the
outrage.
nonsense that Democrats are putting out.
That's really good outrage.
Well, you know, I'm going to end this thing on a positive note. The Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission released a schedule of fees, and it ain't too bad. I mean, I can't say if you got them, smoke them, but basically, you know, if you're a patient, you can get your card for $50 or $40 a virtual card, and I really think some of these license fees for companies are kind of pretty cheap.
Well, they do kind of, you know, when you get into the transporter, testing laboratories, cultivators, processors, and dispensaries, especially when you get into like the cultivators, those fees, I mean, the cultivator's like $40,000. And for a small business, I mean, small farm, that's not, they can't do that. That's my only problem with that particular part of it.
Well, I can tell you right now, if they will give me, I will give them $30,000 real quick if they will give me a dispensary fee. We'll just call it the Alabama Stop and Drop. But
I think the businesses, aren't those $2,500? And then it's the transporters and testing laboratories.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's $2,500.
So it's not bad for the businesses. It's good. You know, a small business can absolutely do that. When you're talking about the rest of it,
I'd do it for $30,000. I'd take that deal. Y'all want to chime in on this? We got 30 seconds.
Hey, just for the record, Josh, that was a Republican bill that created that commission.
No,
yes,
it was not. They stole a Democrat bill just like they always do. It's a Democrat bill, but it couldn't get passed in the supermajority Republican. So the Republicans stole it from the Democrat. My God, come on, they've been introducing the weed bill for years.
What color is the sky in Josh Means world? What is it?
My Lord. Democrats have been introducing the same bill now for 2 decades, and then finally Republican does it, and they're like they discovered.
It has no similarities to the Democrat version of the bill.
We're gonna have to leave it right there. You know, as Cheech and Chong said, it's up in smoke. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.